is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
The most realistic online racing sim ever made. This is iRacing. Detailed laser scan tracks, fully dynamic real world cars, and over 50 series to choose from. 6 online world championships offering over $100,000 in annual prizes. This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers.
Oh, there we go!
This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Frankie! Down to the inside of Hoosie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Two rounds remaining in McLaren Shadow on iRacing for 2018, and 2 rounds before we work out who is going to get the chance to go to Woking and get themselves the shot to join the McLaren esports team. And with that, we say hello and welcome to Imola. Welcome to the track that, of course, is all about speed. It's been reconfigured in recent years, ever since Formula 1 stopped racing there, and it is still a hard and testing track. Qualifying is underway right now, as it's Will Vincent and Connery Maddock here in the RaceSpot TV booth, as we'll give you a look at the track conditions then. 26 degrees Celsius, 55% humidity, 3 km/h wind speed, 18 laps or 88.38 kilometers, Connery. That is what we're racing for here today.
18 laps, 18 car field as well. It'll be absolutely fantastic to see these guys come down in towards turn number 1 for the first time, just battling all the way down into there. Unfortunately, we do not have any Marcus Jensen at this particular event. Feeling confident enough, Will, that he has the championship secured so that he doesn't have to risk his iRacing or some other stuff in these sorts of events.
Giving himself a break, shall we say. We've got drivers on track right now as we speak. Number 1 machine. Let's turn our attention over to him, shall we? In second place right now. And that is Torres right there in that number 1 machine on a lap right now. Connery, actually, he's going slowly.
Yeah, doesn't seem like he's going to improve on his lap time of a 142.9. This is coming down in towards the downhill braking zone of the first Ravazza. We do have a change for pole position, though. That's Matteo Ugolotti. That is a name that we're used to seeing getting himself towards the top of the timing screen. There's a 142.221. Damascus Torres will head his way on towards the line now, and will he improve? Doesn't look like. Actually, he does improve. That's pole position.
Wow. A shout out at the end, but it is Iberia driver then driving for GTC who gets himself pole position 142.205. That car looks so slow out of the chicane, Connery.
It did look so slow, but our eyes did deceive us. So your Damascus Torres currently pole position here in the McLaren Shadow series, and I'm just looking to see if there's anyone on a lap. Ugolotti, he still has another lap to get logged here, so he could potentially improve on his 142.221. Damascus Torres, he did his fast lap on his second lap. Can Ugolotti do the same?
142.222 is what Ugolotti did last time by, as the number 2 machine now heads himself out of that same chicane that we said that Torres is going so slowly through, and there's now that run down to Ravazza, which of course these days is the last braking zone on track. Into the left-hander, run that curve, run the outside curve, don't get it too loose, and then turn it back in for the second part of Ravazza, and then you're flat out all the way to the start finish line. Matteo Ugolotti, number 2 machine. What can he do as he crosses the stripe? The answer's going to be slower.
Marginally slower. A 142.276 compared to a 221 that he was able to set on his first qualifying lap, and I think that is us pretty much done. No one has a lap to be able to set here in the late stages of qualifying. Our grid is set.
It is, as we just have a look there. Of course, the Brazilian flag down at Tamburello Corner where Ayrton Senna lost his life. Love the little details that's put on to the iRacing laser scan versions of the racetrack. But let's have a look at your starting grid for this McLaren Shadow at the Autodromo Enzo Edino Ferrari, Imola in Italy. It will be Torres of 142.205 who gets pole position. Matteo Ugolotti only 17 one-thousandths of a second back. And Linus Technol then in third place makes 3 drivers inside 1/10 of a second. But Connery, after that, there is a 1.05 second gap to Axel Paul in 4th.
Yeah, so your top 3 runners, absolutely fantastic qualifying times. Everyone else, though, in this pack is, well, the qualifying times have spread themselves out just a little bit, so we'll have to see if that theme is going to be the same when it comes to the start of this event. We have a rather widespread in terms of the iRatings as well, thanks to this only being a single split event. So it also gives us a chance to maybe shine the spotlight on some drivers that don't usually get to we don't usually get to see on these sorts of broadcasts. You know, we always broadcast the Premier Series, the the World Championships, the likes of the Neo Endurance Series and the Sports Car Open. But for the day-to-day racing on iRacing, that doesn't get a lot of limelight a lot of the time.
It doesn't, of course. We bring you the best of Friday night prime time iRacing official races every week, but there's still a lot of drivers that don't always get themselves the opportunity onto the iRacing Esports Network, and we want to say hello to them, as drivers are right now behind the iRacing pace car. They are working themselves down towards Ravazza And in a moment's time, we're going to get ourselves ready to go and do 18 laps worth of racing here in the penultimate round of the McLaren Shadow Series. 18 laps. Let's give you RaceSpot TV fan immersion to get ourselves underway. Driver out on lap number 1, Connery. That is the driver of Luke Chard in the number 9 machine.
Yeah, looks like he actually did not take the start, so we're down to 17 runners in this event. But for those that did take the start, it was a relatively clean run through the first corner, the first chicane of Morello. Everyone's still out there on circuit that took the race start. Fantastic start, though, for Dalmasis Torres. Still leads the way up in P number 1. Ugolotti looking so aggressive there, covering through Akaminerali. Just drags himself right up to the back bumper of the number 1 machine ahead of him. Linus Tech now, who's currently running P number 3, is dropping off the back of this lead battle a little bit. But look how aggressive Ugolotti is over the curbs. He's driving like a man possessed, even on lap number 1.
Yeah, and I think what he's trying to do is get these 2 pulled away early, Connery. Give themselves the opportunity to fight out later on. 18 laps, no pit stops in this event, so it's all about what you can do on the racetrack. And that number 2 car looking very strong as they exit now that final corner. And will Ugolotti try and go for the move on the outside, giving him the inside and towards Sambarello? Well, the speedometer's up there, 250 kilometers an hour almost in towards turn number 1. Ugolotti looking to the outside. Can he get the move done? The answer is going to be they'll stay side by side, and Ugolotti has got it.
Yeah, getting that move done early was so important for Ugolotti, and it's just a case now of whether Dalmasis Torres can keep up with him. They were very, very close in terms of the qualifying times, but the early race pace, well, that seems to be going the way of the driver of the number 2, Matteo Ugolotti, at this moment in time. Very close then, down in towards the Tosa hairpin for the 2nd time in this event. Dalmasis Torres, he's not going to let your new race leader get away that easily.
Maynard Grift versus the driver of Ross Yost as they head themselves up the hill into the sweeping left hand. Absolutely love this corner, but it's really hard in GT3 cars, and this is going to give Grift the opportunity to look down to the inside in towards Aqua Minerali. Does not decide to do so then. Is it me or they changed the flames, add more purple to it?
I'm not entirely sure. I'll actually keep an eye on that one for you as they get themselves up on the run towards the Variante Alta. Seeing them just going through there. I'm not seeing any flames just yet, or maybe my graphics settings are too low to be able to show that. But Jace Merrick having a couple of issues there coming out of the Variante Alta. That's going to be the driver of number 12 just breaking traction as he tries to get himself over the curbs, which just can't happen in that chicane since those curbs are so high. Yeah,
let's give yourself another replay of that one. Actually, we can't. We're going to try it one more time. There we are. That's him on the exit of the corner. Let's rewind that one 5 seconds and show you. There we are. For the center of the corner, just getting loose. And as a consequence of that, losing not 1 but 2 positions to the very, very colourful number 5 machine of Joseph Ringrose then in towards turn 1. I think that's the most colourful car we've seen in Shadow history.
Yeah, could possibly be. Really, really representing in terms of the liveries out there today. We might see a move ahead of him, though, for P number 5. This is Maynard's Grift versus Ross Yost, as Yost will actually not fight the position too much, and Grift has completely overdone it, coming through the exit of the Villeneuve chicane, gives the position back.
Yeah, let's get ourselves a second look then through Villeneuve. As live timing and scoring is available, RaceSpot.tv/timing for that one. That is Grift then in towards Villeneuve. I was thinking he might have caught one of those little sausage curves, but he didn't. He just pushed wide in the second apex of Villeneuve, and that pushes him back down into 6th place. Matteo Ugolotti, though, does continue to lead the way over Torres, but Torres is not giving up yet. The gap is only 0.2 per second, and also Ted Snell in 3rd is still remaining in position as well.
Yep, he's just sitting in the sort of position that, well, some drivers just like to sit behind any battles that are happening ahead of him. Not just like sort of locked onto the back bumper of the battle, but it's just, you know, sitting in a couple of tenths of a second back, just watching exactly what might happen between these two leaders. And he's sitting far enough behind that he might not get caught up if these two leaders have an accident. But on towards lap number 4 we go then. Damasis Torres sitting in the draft all the way down this very, very long pit straight, letting that McLaren stretch its legs towards the outside. Then he'll go for Tamburello. Equal on the brakes are the two drivers. Ugolotti will manage to hold position here as Torres tries to find a line through the corner that will work, but they'll stay the order they arrived in the corner.
Yeah, so having a look then at Torres into Villeneuve once again. As just let you know, production feed is also working right now as Torres on the run up into Tosa. It's the slowest corner on the racetrack, Connery, but it's one that really does set you up well for the remainder of Sector 2.
Yeah, it does. Fantastic run out of here, up in towards the Piratella. Piratella, of course, not really an overtaking opportunity, just a single line through here. That is the fastest, and the fastest compared to every other line that they could take through there. But then down in towards Acqua Minerale, you can really take the fight to the car ahead of you by just being all over that back bumper coming through there, and then maybe look for the move down the inside up in towards the Variante Alta. But Dalmasis Torres is not going to be close enough this time by as they both hop over those very, very large curves on the apexes of Variante Alta there. As Ugolotti, he's not looking entirely comfortable here because he has Dalmasis Torres so close behind. Might even decide to head his way down the inside at Ravazza 1. Not going to go for it, just going to follow his man all the way through and look for the move in Tamburello once again. Yeah,
so that's the battle going on at the front of your field. We'll keep it with these two drivers, however, as they'll cross the start-finish line again. Let's go on board with Damasis Torres as he passes the start-finish line up to 250 plus kilometers an hour. As the road will now begin to tilt to the left as they'll come in towards Tamburello, and Damasis Torres nowhere near close enough that time by through the Tamburello chicane. And I just realized when I said the word through the chicane, I'm starting to sound like Gordon Ramsay here.
Well, yours does sort of sound like Gordon Ramsay. I'm not sure what I'm starting to sound like because I do have a little bit of illness that I'm battling right now. As we've had an instant further back through the field. The number 8 of Maynard Grift has got himself a trip through the gravel. Is that contact with another car? Yes, it is. It's going to be with the number 4 of Ross Yost into the Tamburello chicane, and I think that was a move across there from Yost.
Yeah, so Yost is going to basically be the person who benefits out of that in the number 4 car. iRacing 2725 running in that number 4 car. Behind, you have got a battle developing here. Here's a number 7 machine, the Ozan racing car versus Joseph Ringrose, who was doing well earlier, but losing ground all of a sudden, like number 5 of 18 here, as again Ringrose getting loose on the exit of Acqua Minerale.
And just a little mistake with hitting that second apex means his run is compromised up in towards Variante Alta, where, though not close enough to be able to capitalize on that sort of mistake. And Jace Merrick is all the way on the back of this one as well, faster by a tenth of a second over Martin Ware that last time by. So he could potentially be within this fight here if he decides to stick his nose in down at one of these corners. But as they'll file their way through the final couple of them on this lap, we're missing the first apex of the first Ravazza there. Managing to get the second one though, which is the more important of the two, you can argue, because it leads on to this very, very long pit straight where you can get those draft passes done.
Yeah, as behind you got yourself Chris Morris as well in the number 11 machine, battling with Christopher Keeble. He is a name we have seen on Racesport TV before, Club UK and Ireland. Of course, we see him quite often on Monday Night Skippies, which is tomorrow night, Connery. Round out your week with Monday Night Skippies, of course, here.
Oh!
Have I just cursed him? I've literally just cursed him, haven't I?
You have. It's the curse of the commentator striking again, and it's stricken quite often over the course of this weekend, I have to say. In the Petit Le Mans, I cursed a couple of drivers myself that I'm always very, very sorry for, but Keeble just down onto the brakes into Tamburello. Car didn't really want to turn, still braking by the time he got to the middle of the corner, and braking and turning in these GT machines generally isn't the best of ideas. Results in his car spinning around.
Monday Night Skippies, 8 p.m. GMT, live here on the iRacing Esports Network and on Race.tv. Let's put that one to bed as we get one more look there at Guy. I'll tell you one thing, driver behind him was very lucky not to hit him because he was sideways, perpendicular to the racetrack. Matteo Ugolotti in second place. Torres is through, and Ugolotti's got to do all that work once again.
Yeah, it was done on that past lap, so these guys are going to dogfight then all the way to the end of this 18-lap event. We're not halfway through just yet. We're just about to go on to lap number 7 of this one. There's a car down on towards the lane. That's Maynard Grift, who had to come down in after sustaining a little bit of damage as a result of contact with the number 4 of Ross Yost, but he'll be able to get himself back out there on circuit, albeit very much near the back end of the field. But Ugolotti right now, he's already proven, well, that he can get past Damasis Torres once. It's just an issue of doing it again and holding the position until a checkered flag.
Well, indeed so. So having a look then at Matteo Ugolotti, let's give you a little bit of Race.tv fan immersion and show you as he battles out with Torres. To say that could have been a run there for Matteo Ugolotti as they come past the start-finish line, but that doesn't look as though that's going to be the case. They come down in towards Tamburello corner. Ugolotti does seem faster in a straight line compared to Torres, so it may well be that Ugolotti's just carrying a little bit less spoiler with downforce from that car right now.
Yeah, you can change the rear wing angles on these cars. You can also change the rake of the car, how much the bodywork of the car is presented to the air as well, to give you a little bit more or less downforce, depending on how you adjust that one. Lap traffic getting in the way, though. That's going to be the car of number 16 of Robert Autorina. And he'll get himself out the way pretty admirably there, not disrupting this lead battle at all. And it's a very, very close lead battle indeed. Still separated by a couple of tenths of a second as Ugolotti decides to Tokyo drift it around Piratella, somehow holds it.
Let's get ourselves a second look then from our aerial coverage brought to you by And1 Design. So let's have a look in towards Piratella. Well, yeah, that was proper Tokyo drift there, God. I mean, I'll tell you one thing. Many other drivers in that race, they would have binned that car after that. Somehow, Ugolotti holds it. And this is what I meant about the lower downforce as well.
Yeah, maybe not as confident in the car on the entry to the corner, just trying to get that bite down on entry. He's still within a second here, so still definitely very much a chance for Ugolotti to get himself back towards this race lead, as we will get towards the halfway point then. We're going to go on to lap number 9 as we head our way across that start-finish line right there. And the interesting thing is that at Imola, of course, the start-finish line is actually at the front, or rather near the front of the starting grid, so it's not like your normal Formula 1 Grand Prix layout sort of circuit where the start-finish line is before all the grid spaces, it's after, so it gives the chance for a draft pass out the final corner on the final lap.
It always really annoys me when you've got the finish line and the start line separated by the entire grid or sometimes more. Just to let you know, Joseph Ringrose has lost 6th place to Martin Weir. That was down towards Aquaminarati as Ringrose, well, actually didn't really do anything wrong. Weir just somehow forced it down to the inside and was able to make the move stick. That was the biggest battle going on track. The field has separated out. So let's show you the moves and shakers in this event so far. Brought to you by TrackCams22.com. And your top 4, well, they are all exactly where they started, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. No changes inside your top 4 cars. You'll have to look down to Ross Yost, NP number 5, to see a move up one position from P number 6 on the grid. Martin Weir up 3 positions. Your biggest mover, though, is James Wallace, up 6 positions from P number 16 on the grid up into 10th.
Yeah, and actually let's turn our attention over to Wallace in that number 14 machine. His next victim will be Chris Morris in the number 11 UK and I car. And let's have a look at the lap times between the two of them. Because Wallace is losing time. In fact, he's lost a position to Morris recently, although he might get that one back. No, that's actually lap traffic. So that's my excitement going down the window.
Yeah, the lap traffic getting itself involved then, even though this is a very, very short sprint race, as Autorina so slow actually coming down in towards the Variante Alta. He's just taking it, taking this Imola racetrack more like a Sunday drive rather than a motorsports event, but that's sometimes the way people like to race, I suppose, as the battle for the race lead has actually dropped to 2 seconds, well, 1.9 seconds between Delmasis Torres and Matteo Ugolotti. Ugolotti must have made another mistake somewhere on circuit.
Yeah, as Autorina, his best lap today has been a 156.486. That would be out of the 110% rule that you'd normally say. And that's one of these things that, you know, we don't want to embarrass drivers on any broadcast, but sometimes, Connery, practice, practice, practice. That is always my first piece of advice for any driver joining iRacing, because it's often, you know, a lot of people think, okay, I've been good on other platforms, I can come on and be good immediately. That's not always the case.
Not always the case. You do see some drivers, though, from other platforms that do come over to iRacing and actually do pretty well after a period of adjustment. But if that platform isn't really similar to iRacing, then you're just going to struggle a little bit. And you do have tools to use, though, to get back up to speed. You have the private practice sessions where you go around the track on your own. You got the time attack as well, which is a feature that not a lot of people are aware of on iRacing, and it is a useful training tool. You've got the open practice sessions as well for every series, and soon you'll have practice sessions and races against the AI.
Yep, which we had the chance to check out at Sim Racing Expo 2018. And to give you an example of what I mean here, Connery, I mean, we're talking about some of the biggest names in all of sim racing. Bono House, his attempt at the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, I'm going to call it not quite disastrous, but a letdown.
Yeah, it was, I mean, he came into that series with a lot of hype surrounding him, just saying, oh, we can have another challenger for the World Championship Grand Prix Series, and I thought, well, he's not slow by any means. I'm not saying that Bono is slow. Like, no one in this entire industry would ever say that, but I think there was just a little bit too much hype surrounding him coming into this World Championship after the period of adjustment that he did have to make after coming from his other championships.
So just having a look through the field, there are no real battles going on. We're looking at Martin Weir versus Joseph Ringrose again, because Ringrose had closed that gap back down to about 0.6 of a second, but then lost half a second in the second half of that last lap.
Yeah, so the gap's fluctuating in and out then at this stage, as next time by we'll have 7 laps to go. Ugolotti on that last lap, though, did close up about 0.2 of a second, but it seems like that is not going to be changing all that much on this particular lap unless he gets a very, very good exit off of the final corner, because the relative timing is actually standing at around about 1.5 seconds as he charges towards the line. So another couple of tenths of a second taken out now by Ugolotti, and with 7 laps to go, that's going to mean he's going to have a chance at the end of the race, as long as he doesn't make any more small errors like he's been making.
Yeah, and the big thing that we saw, and you can see it on your screen still, is that 1.3 seconds that was lost on lap number 9. I mean, that, well, was absolutely not acceptable. And for some reason, the telestrator, as we'll call it, just went completely wrong. Should we try it one more time? It's done it again. 1.315 seconds. It's just not my day today here, Connery.
It doesn't seem to be the case, but who's the one driver whose day it could be by the end of the race is Ugolotti, because he had an absolutely monstrous first sector. He's within 9 or 8 tenths of a second right now of your race leader after being 1.5 seconds back coming across the start-finish line. Yeah,
and Ugolotti, well, we say he lost that time 2 laps ago due to a mistake, but he is charging back. He does go wide though, Ackerman and Raleigh.
Yeah, he does, and these are the small mistakes that I've been talking about. He can't be affording to lose time, lose half a second each time he makes those sorts of mistakes. He just needs that consistency. Again, a little bit of a moment coming over a Variante Alta there. So he's just got to calm down, get his head in the right space, and just run consistent laps instead of driving on the ragged edge every single corner. Yeah,
that gap's back up to 1.5 seconds. At one point, Connery is down to 7 tenths of a second. So Ugolotti, you're right, he just needs to put his head down. I mean, he's still got himself 6 laps to go in this event, so 2.5 tenths of a second lap, he will be there and he can make a pass.
Yeah, exactly. He just needs to put himself in that position, though. As you'll see, the gap actually go to 1.4 seconds as they head their way across the line. Through the Tamburello chicane they will go, or rather the Tamburello sweeper, as it's a very, very, very wide chicane indeed. Same with the next corner, the next sequence of corners they're coming up to. The Villeneuve chicane here, as the track layout changes for Imola over the years, has meant that those were once very, very, very scarily quick corners that have been turned into wide sweeping chicanes.
Yeah, and the Villeneuve chicane, of course, named after Gilles Villeneuve, who in 1982 was a part of what we can only really call a political situation at Ferrari. It was a bit of a weird race because only 16 drivers turned up, because a lot of the teams kind of didn't participate in protest, a bit like 2005 at Indianapolis. Now, Gilles Villeneuve was pretty much scheduled to win. He had the lead, didn't look Peroni in the last lap of the event, swarmed it past the last time we were taking opportunity. Villeneuve swore that he would never ever talk to Peroni again. However, unfortunately, the next race in Belgium would be the last time we'd ever see Gilles Villeneuve on a track in that corner, that complex, that second chicane complex named in his honour. The gap is back up to 1.6 seconds. However, there's lap traffic that comes into play again for Dalmases Torres. He will get past 1 easily on the start-finish straight. There's going to be one more driver who's going to have to get past, and this might hurt him because he's going to catch him, I think, around the exit of Tamburello, Connery.
This could very much hurt it, depending on where Autorina places his car, and in the middle of the road is not the place to do it when you have a blue flag situation. Dalmases Torres searching for a way through. Of course, blue flags are advisory here on iRacing, so he doesn't have to get immediately out of the way. Ugolotti gets himself past relatively okay, and we've also had a couple of cars. Actually, there's Dalmases Torres off.
Yeah, we just saw that. We couldn't see the onboard camera. Let's have a look. I think a hardware failure for Dalmases Torres has just happened. This is on the run down into the Villeneuve chicane, and Dalmases Torres, we're going to get the picture back hopefully any second now, as there we are, going off down at Villeneuve. Number 1 machine loses 2 seconds, and well, technical issues hurting there, the number 1 car.
Yeah, just the technical moment that sort of snowballed into a completely different issue with going off of the racing circuit, and he does have a little bit of damage to the rear end, in fact, so I have to wonder if there's been a little bit of contact with that bit of lap traffic as well. But it does bring Linus Tech now back into this fight. He can maybe get himself up into position number 2 here if he really goes and chases this race now. He's been given an opportunity. It's up to him whether he wants to take it now.
Technical will be aware of the fact, and actually it looks as though that Torres' issues are going to continue, because we've lost him again through Ravazza. So this could be the end, actually, for Dalmasis Torres. It looks as though, well, he is actually back on track, but you've got to wonder now, is there something with Torres? And let's break the fourth wall here, Connery, for a minute. I mean, originally I thought it might be a graphics card issue, but this looks more like it's going to be some form of an internet issue for Torres, because he's not seeing the track, he's not seeing the people around him right now, and that's caused him to go off twice in the last lap and a half.
Yeah, just this is just the occupational hazard that you have to deal with sometimes when you race over the internet, over a network. It's sometimes not the most reliable of things, so it's just an issue that you do have to manage from time to time. I know for a fact that I have had to manage it in the races that I have done as well, where it's not really playing ball, but he's seemed relatively stable over the last half a lap, so hopefully he is back with us. Meanwhile, we do have another battle going on. This is P number 6 between Martin Ware and Joseph Ringrose, because Ringrose took a good couple of tenths of a second out of Ware that last time by.
Yeah, and he's done to the last 2 laps, actually, as lap 13, 4 tenths faster, lap number 13, 4 tenths faster, lap number 14, 3 tenths faster. It's a little bit of a tongue twister there for me, apologies, as the gap is now under 1 second. Normally, of course, if this was a Formula 1 car, we're talking about DRS range. There's no DRS, thankfully, in this type of GT race. It would be insane. But that gap is indeed 8 tenths per second. And also to let you know, as Dalmasis Torres is still ahead of Tekno. The gap is up to 1.2 seconds between the two of them now. This is the closest battle we've got on track, although worth noting, James Wallace and Frederick Havert there, they are separated by just under a second as well. That is down in P10 and 11.
Yep, it is. So still battles to get yourself inside of the top 10. We've got Ware and Ringrose, P number 6 and 7, Wallace and Povert for P number 10 and P number 11. It looks like the battle for P number 2, though, is just going to spread itself out just a little bit, as Tech now is not able to keep up with the pace of Dalmasis Torres, and I think he is back with us in terms of this one, and setting very quick lap times indeed, a 1:42.9 last time by. Compare that to Ugolotti's 1:43.4. He's still a little bit down the road with about 2.5 laps to go, but more laps like that could mean that Dalmasis Torres is still in this one.
We just saw as well that Ringrose again faster that last time by. In terms of Wallace and Frederick Paveur, that is going to be past start finish time. 3rd lap in a row that Paveur is faster than James Wallace. 13 of the 14 cars going at it.
Yeah, exactly. Just having a look at those times, you're exactly right. Just a couple of tenths of a second going the way of Povert. Down in towards the Tamburello chicane then, just trying to gain yet more time and just to top 10 finish. You know, after starting P number 15, it's not going to be too bad of a finish for Povert if he's able to get his car inside that top 10. But Ringrose has had a moment through Piratella, and he's managed to save it as well. So he's saying to Ugolotti, whatever you could do, I can do better as well.
Well, and I'll say that Ringrose had a number of almost incidents in this event today. Let's have a look then from our aerial coverage, brought to you by And One Design, and this will be in towards, oh my word, he almost lost it completely there. So yeah, I mean, not Piatello, that's the wrong series, Ugolotti-esque, but with a little bit more pizzazz with that car.
Yeah, exactly. So fantastic car control there from Joseph Ringrose, able to save the car and not have an unfortunate accident in a barrier somewhere around that Piratella area. Doesn't mean that he loses a little bit of time in his battle with Martin Ware. But we'll just see exactly what the story is as they head their way across the line. A 1:46.2 by Ware, and actually a 1:46.1 by Ringrose. He still gains time, even though he decided to drift one of these corners.
That's incredible. That's incredible. Paveur is now within about 3/4 of a second, but we are getting now down to the closing stages of this event. It's only a lap and a half now. Oh, it's Paveur. It looks like he's lost out big time on the exit of Rebecca. No, he hasn't actually, just a timing and scoring glitch. In towards Tamburello once again, on board with Paveur, as he's now just 4 tenths of a second back over Wallace, and he's still gaining with a lap and a half for them to go.
Yeah, it might have to be a last-ditch moment then for Pauvert to try to get his way by. I'm just keeping a close eye on the battle for the race lead because that is down to around about 1.5 seconds at this point as they head to get the white flag. So 1 lap to go for Matteo Ugolotti and Damasus Torres to sort this one out. 1.4 seconds will be the gap as they head their way across the line. And we've also got this battle between Pauvert and Wallace as well. So a couple of battles to watch right at the end.
Ugolotti should win this race if he does a lap like Ugolotti normally does. I mean, yes, the time gained by Damasus Torres has been great, but it requires Ugolotti to make a mistake first.
Yeah, it really does. A 1:42.7 from Damasus Torres, a 1:43.4 from Ugolotti. So Ugolotti not entirely comfortable as that gap gets down and down and down towards 1 second now. Damasus Torres knows that he really needs to go like a bat out of hell and then maybe try to get that draft pass out in the final corner. He's got to maximize Piratella, maximize Acquaminerale and Variante Alta, and then set himself up for those final 2 corners. He's a little bit too far back right now, but with the mistakes Ugolotti's been making, he could be within his striking distance.
I would argue this is the last chance for Ugolotti to slip up down into Acquaminerale. He's okay through there. He was wide, but he was okay. The gap is down to less now than 1 second, but as they come down into the 3rd and final chicane, if you're going to mess it up, this will be your main chance to do so. Nope, not going to do so. Matteo Ugolotti then just now has 1 big braking zone to go and a little flick twice to the left. Matteo Ugolotti on home turf here in that number 2 Movano car through the first part of Ravazza, through the second part of Ravazza, and Matteo Ugolotti is going to hold on and claim victory here at Imola. Torres will come home in second place, 1.4 seconds back, and then actually a huge gap back down to Linus Techner. He must have had an incident because, yeah, he did a 1:49 on that last lap, and he falls back to 11 seconds, Connery, behind your race leaders.
Didn't fall back enough, though, to lose that final step on the podium. Still a close battle between Ware and Ringrose, though, down towards the penultimate corners. Ringrose going to send it. He just did have a little bit of a think about it, but he wasn't anywhere near close enough to be making that move work, and he won't get the traction out in the final corner either. So Martin and Ware will come across the line, P number 6. We have to cycle things back to see where Wallace and Pauvert are, and I'm just having a look to see they're coming down towards the penultimate corner as well, but I think Wallace has this one.
Yeah, and Pauvert is about 1 second back, so I don't expect anything here. But Wallace running out of fuel or doing something stupid, it's all flat out from here. Wallace will round out your top 10 at Imola. I will say one thing, Conway. Interesting race. I like that.
Yeah, that was a very interesting race, despite the rather low strength of field and despite it being a single split. I enjoyed that one.
Let's have a look at your final race results here from the legendary Imola. And at the Autodromo Enzo Dino Ferrari, it is Matteo Ugolotti, the hometown man, who gets himself victory by 0.7 of a second over Damasus Torres, after what had been a very close race between the two of them. Damasus Torres had himself some technical issues in the last third of the event after he looked to have the race lead almost under control. Linus Techno comes home in 3rd place, loses himself 7 seconds on the last lap, but able to hold on to that position. And Axel Paul will round out 4th place with Ross Yost in 5th. Martin Ware and Joseph Ringrose were involved in battles all day long. The Aussie beat the Brit in terms of that one. Ware in 6th and Ringrose in 7th. Jace Merrick in P number 8, Chris Morris in 9th, and James Wallace rounds out your top 10. That is the remainder of the results up on your screen right now. As well, let's think very quickly, Connor. I mean, we've got one more round to go. That is going to be at the legendary Suzuka circuit, and well, that's a track that really tests drivers.
I absolutely love the Suzuka circuit. It's just an absolutely brilliant track to drive. It's an absolutely brilliant track just to watch these cars, watch these drivers tackle it as well. It's just an absolutely brilliant spectacle, and I personally cannot wait for that final week.
Yeah, of course, that'll be in 1 week's time. We have one driver so far to talk to. That is Chase Merrick. Connery stood by with you.
There we go. We got Jace Merrick in the commentary booth, then started P number 8, finished in the exact same position as well. How was your race, Jace?
Well, I feel like I could have done a lot better. Like, I feel like I was just pushing it too hard.
Pushing too hard. How was that race start for you? Because from our perspective in the commentary booth, it seemed like it was a very, very clean race start down in towards turn number 1 and turn number 2 as well. And how did that start and that first lap fare for you?
The first lap was fine. I feel like I kind of did myself in when I turned around in Variante Alta. It was kind of just kind of keep my cool at that point. Yeah. And
since you were the driver of the number 12, which does mean that, at least in terms of the iRacing, you're in the bottom half of the field here today. Still a decent result, getting yourself inside that top 8. And how is it sometimes racing against these guys that have so much higher iRacing than you? How do you go about that sort of racing?
Well, it helps me learn mainly the track, not so much the car. It just helps me learn that sort of... It helps me learn the track and where the braking points are, because honestly, I feel like I was being too passive on the throttle going out of the turns, and maybe looking back on this, I could probably better myself. Yeah, and that's kind of what this is all about, right? Like, it's about bettering yourself, like, and yeah.
Yep, it is, and you know, your situation was very, very similar to a lot of drivers out there today, and you pretty much did well, the best of them. Everyone above you had higher iRacing than you, and you also everyone below you. You know, you just beat them out, and you did a absolutely great performance considering the strength of the field here today. And what's next for you? Is there any official iRacing series that you'll be racing through the rest of the season, or are there other leagues that you want to do as well?
Well, I kind of want to affiliate myself with a team if at all possible. Like, maybe, because I feel like if I have more resources, because I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. My simulator is literally a cheap $400 Logitech wheel bolted to a Costco table. Like, it's not much, but if I can do something like this with what I can amount to nothing, I feel like I can go somewhere.
Yeah, and sometimes that is the issue. I remember when I used to race on, well, I actually still did recently race on a, I think it was a Logitech T150, not Logitech T150, a Thrustbuster T150.
Let's be honest, Connor.
It was a T150 bolted to a desk, but the desk was too thick, so I had to get like a chopping board and mount that to the desk, and then mount my wheel to that chopping board. So that was the setup I had to deal with. But thank you for joining us, Jace, here at the end of the McLaren Shadow race here today, and good job in the P8.
Yeah, I'll probably come back here for Suzuka, and I feel like I'll do a lot better at Suzuka, because I'm much more familiar with this track. I only spent like 2 weeks learning Imola. Not the best of ideas, but yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for coming to talk to us as well. Practice makes perfect. And, well, it's good to get some perspectives from some drivers that we don't usually get to see.
Yeah, indeed. So that, however, is all we've got time for here on the iRacing Esports Network. From Connery Maddock and myself, Will Vincent, these are the people that get it done for us. Isram Balal, TrackCam, Swinch2.com, and One Design for overlay, Aptioneering.com for development, and live timing and scoring. Thanks to Nick Thisson. Good night from Imola.